Welcome to Creative Originals by Roxine. Sit back and enjoy my videos. Already have your paper cut ready to go. I use a ruler for the width of the cross for the horizontal and vertical sections. Makes it pretty easy. We're using micron pens or Faber-Castell pens or Copic pens, whichever you like to use. I choose a nib that's a little thicker for my outlining. Then I go with nibs that are smaller for my detailing, and you can find those in any of those brand pens. I will post what kind of pens I used, at the bottom of this video for you to use. So right now I'm just outlining the cross and giving it a little bit of dimension, ready to go for the next step. Be sure to come back in and erase all your pencil lines. You want those all gone so they're not in your way. We're going to be adding more pencil lines here in just a moment to kind of give us an idea where we're going to go with the drawing. We're using a micron pen for this next step. And I'm just going to do some infinity loops along the bottom of the cross. That's all I'm doing here. So I'm going to do it along the bottom of the horizontal plank, and then I'm going to do infinity loops down the side of the cross as well. You might pause the video and do that for yours. I have speeded up the video in many of these parts simply because the video was over an hour long and I want to try to get as much in as I possibly can for y'all. Next, I'm going to draw lightly some lines just to separate out the area where I want to add detail. And I'm just doing triangles down the front of the cross. You can do whatever you want. Here I've just put a little curve. I'm going to go back, and on that curve I'm going to do some petals or feathers or flowers, however you want to call that. You can just see it's just a little curve. I make a large one and a few small ones. Then I come back with a micron pen and I'm going to make the center line thicker, and then go back with a finer nib pen and I'm going to do the details with the feathers. You can pause the video now and do that with your own drawing, and then come back to this one once we've got this all finished up from the top and the bottom of the curved line. Enjoy! This is fun! There, doesn't that look cool? I just love those feathers. I think they're an attractive addition to any type of doodling we do. Be sure you get everything erased. Now we're going to use a brush nib, and the Faber-Castell pens come with brush nibs. Actually, the Copics do as well. And you can go back in and paint the negative space with a brush nib if you like. Use a smaller nib to do your little veins in the leaves, and then maybe the brush nib to fill in the negative space, or you can use a number of 0.5 or 0.8 nib to fill in as well. I actually go back and forth with both of them. I used the brush for a little while and then I went back with a thicker nib instead of the brush to do a little bit more detail. The thing about using a smaller nib is if you've got very much to fill in, it just takes a lot more ink. So you might as well use something that is loaded more with ink to do your filling in for your negative space. That's what I have found anyway. Well, that's just the way I do it. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's whatever works for you. Just try it. You'll see how it works. Go ahead and follow this through. Do that with your own. If you don't have these types of pens, don't worry about it. Use a Sharpie. The only problem with Sharpies, they tend to bleed into the cardstock paper. If you have a multimedia or mixed media, excuse me, I think it's mixed media, not multimedia, a mixed media type of smoother paper, you probably won't get that with a Sharpie, but the cardstock, it definitely will leave like little feathers around your ink. If you don't mind that, that's fine. You do have your fine points with that as well too. There you go. That looks nice. Now I'm going to take a medium nib again, and I'm going to just make my lines where I drew all my triangles, erase the pencil marks, and then I'm going to start with a finer nib and come back in and start doing my designs. On my infinity loops, I had made a mistake, so I went back in and I decided to fill in where I made my mistake. So then I'm going to just do every other loop and fill that in, and as long as it is a conscious mistake, then it looks like it's supposed to be there. So that's okay. That's how you hide some of your mistakes, so go for that. We're going to use a finer pen, and down here on the lower right triangle, I'm going to do 5 cross lines basically, and then fill in the little triangle at the bottom, as you can see there. And then you just keep doing that everywhere you can do a cross hatching of 5 lines. Just keep filling in and then filling in the little triangle. Pause your video, take some time, do that with your own drawing, and come back. Next, we're going to do the next triangle area, and I'm going to use a smaller nibbed pen, probably about a 3.03, and do swirls. And I kind of want my swirls to touch, so just do enough loops around so each one touches, and just fill in your area, you know, with swirls. You can do that, and then we'll go to the next one. I'm going to do vertical and horizontal lines. You can measure them out if you want to, or you can just eyeball it and go for it. Here, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to, if I can make up my mind, and go back and do my opposite direction. Now with this one, what we're going to do is just fill in each rectangle or square with a little bit thicker nib. I'm using a Copic pen here, and every other rectangle square I'm going to be filling in with the dark ink. Go ahead and try that on your drawing. This is going to be nice when it's finished. Next, I'm doing what's called a meandering or stippling design. I am using an extra small nib on a Faber-Castell pen. This is a really cool design. I use this a lot when I do my quilting with my quilts on my sewing machine. I really like that design. The next design we're going to do, I'm going to use a ruler and measure out lightly with my pencil. And then we're going to do some unique designs with this as well. I like to add different designs in each section. And here you see I'm just putting a dot at all the intersections. Then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do lines on opposite sides of each dot. After you do that, you turn the picture the other direction and you're going to do the same thing going the other direction. As you can see, you want to be consistent. If not, you're going to mess up how this is going to look. It's going to look like a basket weave here in just a moment. So you'll do lines on the outside of the dots, then lines on the inside of the dots. Then flip it over and then come down the opposite direction. If you want to shade this in when you're finished, that's a wonderful thing to do. It just gives it a lot more definition. Again, go in and erase those lines. You don't want those to show. Now with the next two triangles above and below the horizontal plank, I'm just going to use a thicker paintbrush nib and I'm going to just paint some dots, thicker dots, and then we'll move on to the next one. That's a pretty easy one to do. With this one, I'm just doing kind of a little half moon shape and then two lines on each side of it. And then I fill in the little half moon, darken it. It's kind of like the 5 lines with the triangle down below. Again, just get them where you can fit them in. Try to be consistent with your lines and the size of each half moon. Do that. Enjoy. It's really taking on some good dimension now. I'm liking the look. Two more triangles to go. So how about if we just put triangle within triangles? So I'm going to add triangles to this one and then just put a little center dot. And then the very last triangle, we're just going to add another little design to finish up here. And it looks like a little wave or a little hook. You kind of swing around and come back and fill all that in. Or you can do whatever design you want. Isn't that cool? Last but not least, we're going to add the word Easter. If you have a stencil, use a stencil. If you don't have a stencil and you want to print the word in, you have beautiful handwriting, go right ahead and do whatever floats your boat. It's your design. I trace the stencil, then I go back in and I outline it with a micron pen. I use a fine point one and then fill it in with a little thicker nib. There we go, starting to almost be finished. This was a fun doodle. You can take this and you can put it on a card. You can scan it at a higher DPI. You can save it, print out cards with it, whatever you would like to do. You can give it as a gift. Pretty cool. Like my page. Subscribe to my page, ring the bell so you get notices that I've added another video. Share my channel with other people, please. The channel is Creative Originals by Roxine. I'm new at this, so there's lots of errors and mistakes. I trip over my tongue a lot when I'm describing things, but we're getting better. Thank you all for watching. Have a blessed Easter. Bye-bye.